Hi, this is Jimmy Archer with Ryan Ignatz. We're with InsideTri.com, and today we're going to be talking to you about Xterra. For those of you who don't know of Xterra, it's pretty much Olympic distance triathlon, but on mountain bikes, trails, and trail running. You got pretty extreme conditions sometimes. You got some rocks and roots and some gnarly stuff to deal with, and we'll be dealing a little bit of that today. Why don't you tell them some of the stuff that we've seen this year?
Through the season, you kind of travel or ride around the country, and so on the East Coast, there's a lot of routes, a lot of turns, a lot of trees, really tight single track. Not necessarily a lot of climbing. Down in the south is kind of a mix. You have a little bit of that East Coast feel within the trees, some single track, but a little bit of shale as well. And then as we move towards the west, we've got, of course, just like we've got here, a lot of climbing, a lot of rocks, and a lot of loose terrain. So you really have to know how your bike feels and how to ride the different terrain as you start to travel around the country and do different Xterras.
One of the biggest concerns here from people when they look into doing an Xterra is, what happens if I crash? How am I going to get all over those rocks? The biggest thing is just to stay relaxed. If you got to ride over something, just ride over it. Let the bike do a little bit of the work.
You don't want to grab too hard with your hands and pull very much, and you want to look at where you want to go, not where you don't want to go. That's pretty much the most common misconception about, or as a beginner, is that people tend to look where they don't want to go. So, yeah, that's pretty much the keys to getting up the hills and enjoying yourself and hopefully getting through it smoothly.
Xterra started over 10 years ago when Team Unlimited, who puts on the events, decided that triathlon could use a little stirring up, especially in the cycling and adventure department. So now we've got an event where the bike tends to be a little bit more important, and strength and basically self-reliance comes in a little bit more than on your average triathlon. Why do you think that is?
For the most part, the swim is pretty straightforward, except for it's usually a 2-lap swim, so kind of devised from the ITU style of things. But the bike, being a mountain bike, tends to be where most of the ground is made up. And I'm kind of a prime example because I'm one of the slower swimmers in the sport, and I can definitely make up a lot of time and get back into the race on the bike, just because there's a lot of technique involved. And yeah, there's a lot of strength involved as well. And then, when you get to the run, it's pretty much whatever you have left, because the trail run tends to be a little bit harder than on a road triathlon, because you've got a lot more terrain changes and obstacles that they throw in, rivers and things like that. I guess there's a lot of reasons why it's so much different and a great sport to get into.
And to one of those points, today we're going to be taking on some of our home training terrain. A little Colorado single track climb here with some rocks and roots and bumps. This is a great one that Ryan and I like to do toward the end of the season, because the late season races, nationals and world championships in Maui, both have pretty huge climbs on them and fairly rough, especially with Maui, fairly rough descents. So it's good to work on your skills a little bit, sharpen all that up, because again, unlike road triathlon, drafting doesn't matter. There's no one else to rely on out there. You're pretty much up to your own devices in terms of your technical ability, needing to know when you can eat, when you can drink, and maybe you save a little something for the run, maybe you hammer it on the bike and just try and gut it out and hope no one catches you.
So that's kind of one of the better technical riders on the Xterra scene. I kind of know what it takes to ride this stuff really well. Part of it is, from a beginner standpoint, is to make sure you look where you want to go and not where you don't want to go. Because your mind can play some dirty tricks on you as you're coming along and you see a rock, as you start to look at it, you focus on it, and that's where your bike tends to go. So it's really important to look ahead on the trail and make sure you look at the line you want to take, and that'll really help you get through these things really smoothly. What do you think about the mountain bike aspect?
I'm probably not quite as technically proficient as Ryan. He's pretty solid, one of the better guys I've ever ridden with. But one thing I do know is even if you're trying to follow one of the better guys around, if you bobble a little something, you can't get frustrated. The more frustrated and annoyed you get with yourself because you can't do what someone else is doing, you're just going to end up doing it worse, falling off more and more. So best thing I can tell you is stay relaxed, try and keep your head up, look where you want to go, not where you don't want to go, and everyone unclips every once in a while. Just get back on the bike as quick as you can. So, luckily what goes up gets to come down usually in Xterra. And where Ryan's good technical rider on the ups and the gnarly, rocky, rooty sections, I guess I'm known as one of the better descenders, I guess. I don't know if that's because of guts or stupidity, but anyway, descent's also a good place to make up some time, and it's also where you have fun. So, good thing to keep in mind is same thing we were talking about earlier. Look up, look where you want to go, not where you don't want to go. Don't get too scared about, a rock or a root coming up. If you have to, you can almost always just bunny hop it, lift over it. And with modern bikes, with the suspension systems we got and that kind of stuff, most of the time if you hit something hard, you'll ride right over it.
Yeah.
But every once in a while you do go down. You just want to try and, I guess, roll with the punches, right? We've seen some of that on the Xterra series this year. Some of the pros have had some problems. You want to elaborate on that? He's benefited from some of that.
Yeah, it's been kind of a weird year in the Xterra circuit, but again, crashing is kind of one of those things that can happen with mountain biking, unlike road riding. So, it benefits to try to ride within your limits and know what you're capable of doing, and hopefully, looking for the soft spot when you go down. But the race isn't over. A lot of people do have some minor mishaps here and there, but our bodies are tough, and we can usually get up and still get through the day. And that's what it's all about, and having as much fun as you can on a downhill. That's where it all happens.
That's what I always hear at Xterra's is the war stories. That's everyone's favorite bit.
Yeah, at the end of the race.
What happened? What was your battle out there? What did you have to overcome?
Totally.
So we're going to hit another little downhill here. Talk to you in a bit. You might be wondering where these Xterra guys are coming from. Are you a triathlete that gets into it? Are you a runner? You a pro mountain biker? Adventure racer? As far as I can tell, it kind of reminds me of cross-country running and like the World Cross Country Championships. It's kind of a meeting ground of everyone from all different distances. You got anyone from milers up to like marathoners that will run World Cross. Xterra seems like it's a little bit the same. You look at the World Championships, and we've had Steve Larson, who is national champion pro mountain biker. We've had Peter Reed, who obviously has won the Ironman a few times. This year we've got Hamish Carter, who's going to be there at Worlds, gold medalist from 2004. So you kind of get people coming from all angles. Thing about it is you come in with your own strengths, I guess.
Yeah.
How would you say, some of the ITU guys are changing the scene lately?
There's some new up-and-coming ITU guys that, one, change the dynamic of how the swim plays out. So they're going to, of course, use their strength in the swim to go as hard as they can to try to, put people under, and then they have enough fitness usually to get through a semi-non-technical course at a pretty good clip, and of course can run pretty well. So as a mountain biker, you really have to have your A game when you come to the race and really kind of put everything you've got into that bike and hope you can get off and run. So there's a lot of fantastic athletes that are showing up at these events, and it's definitely makes it a lot more interesting, a lot more fun.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a mixed bag of athletes. Even
that's what makes the sport
on
great.
The pro side, we got everyone from Ironman guys to Olympians, and I think on the age group side, I've talked to people who it's their first triathlon ever. I've talked to people who have done 5 Ironman races and are looking for something new. It's kind of come from all different directions, which is good because it's mixes it up a little bit. There's a lot of motion during the race.
Xterra is all about having fun.
Yeah. Even if your buddy does push you into the bad line.
Yeah.